In this video, we'll be taking a look at 4 NBA games happening on March 9, 2025, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 8 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 4 NBA games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start. If you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Denver Nuggets versus Oklahoma City Thunder. This Sunday, the Denver Nuggets are set to take on the Oklahoma City Thunder at the Paycom Center. This game marks the 3rd encounter between these two Western Conference teams this season. So far, they've each claimed a win in their previous matchups, and over their last 10 games, they're evenly split with 5 wins apiece, both straight up and against the spread. Additionally, the under has hit in 6 of those 10 games, suggesting a trend toward lower scoring contests. The Nuggets will be missing Julian Strawther once again, leaving them slightly short-handed. On the other hand, the Thunder are expected to have a full roster, including the return of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who was questionable after being tested on Friday. With the series tied 1-1 this season, this game promises to be another exciting clash, as both teams have been on a roll lately. The Thunder are favored at home, which isn't surprising, but it feels like the Nuggets aren't getting the respect they deserve. It's hard to bet against the Thunder, especially considering how strong they've been over the past 2 seasons. This year, they've covered the spread in 66.1% of their games, the best rate in the NBA. Last season, they weren't far behind, covering 56.2% of their regular season games. If you've been consistently backing the Thunder, you've likely made some solid profits. That said, the Nuggets are starting to look like serious title contenders. Nikola Jokic has been playing out of his mind, and the team has won 7 of their last 10 games. They even beat the Thunder back in November, though it's hard to say how much that matters now. I'm leaning toward the Nuggets in this one, especially as underdogs. There's value in backing them here, and if they keep winning, opportunities like this might not come around often. Still, I think the Thunder will pull off the win at home, but I expect the Nuggets to keep it close, likely within a few possessions. As our first pick for this matchup, the Denver Nuggets to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. When it comes to scoring trends, the over has hit in 34 of 62 home games for the Thunder this season. Over their last 10 games, the over is 7-3, and for the Nuggets on the road, it's 16 to 15 to 1. Given the offensive firepower on both sides, this game has the potential to be a high-scoring affair. Both teams boast MVP-caliber players in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic, who can single-handedly take over games. With 2 elite offenses going head-to-head, I'd lean toward the over in this matchup. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Phoenix Suns versus Dallas Mavericks. On Sunday, the Phoenix Suns will face off against the Dallas Mavericks at the American Airlines Center. This marks the 4th time these two Western Conference teams will meet this season. So far, the Suns have taken 2 of the 3 games, but the Mavericks came out on top in their most recent clash back on December 27th. Over their last 10 matchups, the series is tied 5-5 in terms of straight-up wins, though Dallas has a slight edge against the spread at 6-4. Interestingly, the under has hit in 8 of those 10 games, suggesting these matchups tend to be lower scoring affairs. The Suns are dealing with some roster challenges, as Monty Morris has been ruled out for this game. Meanwhile, the Mavericks are missing several key players, including Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis, Daniel Gafford, and PJ Washington, among others. The loss of Kyrie Irving is particularly devastating for Dallas, as he was recently diagnosed with a torn ACL and will miss the remainder of the season. Currently, the Mavericks are sitting in 10th place in the Western Conference, with the Suns trailing by just 2.5 games. Dallas is grappling with a slew of injuries, especially among their forwards and centers, and it's showing in their performance on both ends of the court. The Suns, too, have had their share of struggles this season, particularly in figuring out how to maximize their big 3 of Durant, Booker, and Beal. The trio hasn't quite clicked yet, and Phoenix has been plagued by inconsistent contributions from their bench. For the Suns, this game is crucial, and I expect them to treat it as such. With only 19 games left in the regular season, Every contest is vital as they aim to secure a spot in the play-in tournament and keep their postseason hopes alive. The Mavericks, on the other hand, have been in freefall since the blockbuster Luka Doncic trade and are struggling to find any rhythm on offense or defense. The Suns could really use a win here to rebuild some confidence, especially after suffering an overtime loss in their last outing. I like their chances against a Mavericks team that's ice cold and missing nearly all of their top players. While the Suns might not deserve to be favored by as many points as they are, given their recent form, they still hold a significant edge in scoring potential. This is especially true if they can contain players like Klay Thompson. I've been skeptical of the Suns all season. They've been underperforming and have only covered the spread 37.1% of the time, which is the second worst mark in the NBA, trailing only the 76ers. That said, the Mavericks are as depleted as any team in recent memory, and it's clearly taking a toll. Dallas has lost 4 straight games, and those losses have come by an average margin of 20 points. There's only so much a team can overcome, and the Mavericks have reached a point where they simply don't have enough healthy bodies to compete effectively. Even the Suns, with all their flaws, should be able to take advantage and secure a win here. If they want any shot at making the play-in tournament, they have no choice but to come out on top. This is a veteran Suns squad, and I expect them to rise to the occasion in this must-win game. As our first pick for this matchup, the Phoenix Suns to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Defensively, the Suns have been subpar this season, but the Mavericks' injury woes mean they're not in a position to exploit those weaknesses. Phoenix has been efficient with their shooting, but they rank just 20th in the NBA in pace and 27th in field goals attempted per game. Dallas, on the other hand, has had to shift to a more defensive-minded lineup due to their injuries. While this group is smaller, they've shown the ability to switch and guard multiple positions effectively. The Suns should be focused on tightening up their defense in this game, as they need to string together wins to keep their playoff hopes alive. With Irving out, the Mavericks have slowed their pace significantly, and scoring has become a major challenge for them. This trend is reflected in the fact that the under has hit in 8 of the last 10 meetings between these two teams. Phoenix's slow tempo, ranking 20th in pace and 26th in offensive possession length, should allow them to control the flow of the game, even on the road against a Mavericks team that plays at an average pace. Dallas is simply too shorthanded to compete effectively on both ends of the floor, even against a Suns defense that has been far from stellar. The Mavericks will likely focus their efforts on defense, trying to prevent Phoenix from running away with the game early. They'll want to avoid a high-scoring shootout at all costs, and their defensive intensity should keep the Suns in check for a while. However, given the circumstances, this game is shaping up to be a low-scoring affair. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Memphis Grizzlies versus New Orleans Pelicans. The Southwest Division heats up as the Memphis Grizzlies face off against the New Orleans Pelicans in a Sunday night showdown in the Big Easy. Both teams are looking to secure a much-needed win. The Grizzlies are coming off a solid 122-111 road victory over the Dallas Mavericks on Friday night, where they covered the spread as 9.5-point favorites. Meanwhile, the Pelicans were in action on Saturday night, taking on the Houston Rockets in the second leg of a home-and-home series. New Orleans stumbled in their previous game, falling 109-97 at home to the Rockets and failing to cover as 3.5-point underdogs. Historically, the Pelicans hold a slight edge in the all-time series with a 44-41 record, but the Grizzlies have dominated this season, winning all 3 matchups, including a 139-126 victory at home on January 24th. Both teams are dealing with key absences heading into this game. The Grizzlies remain shorthanded with Santi Aldama and Luke Kennard sidelined once again. On the other side, the Pelicans are still missing DeJounte Murray, Herbert Jones, and Bruce Brown. CJ McCollum had a rough outing in the Pelicans' last game against Houston, logging 34 minutes but struggling to make an impact. He shot just 5 for 15 from the field, finishing with 13 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists. Despite this, I expect him to bounce back in this matchup. With McCollum, Zion Williamson, and Trey Murphy on the floor, the Pelicans are a much more dangerous team than their 17-46 record suggests. For the Grizzlies, Ja Morant is nursing a shoulder issue, and while he's likely to play, his recent performance raises some concerns. Additionally, Memphis will be without their best interior presence, Jaren Jackson Jr., for several weeks, which could give Zion Williamson a chance to dominate in the paint. If the Grizzlies are serious about making a playoff push this season, they need to capitalize on games like this. However, Memphis has been in a rough patch since the All-Star break, losing 7 of their last 10 games and posting a disappointing 8-1 record against the spread during that stretch. They've also dropped 3 home games this month as favorites, which is concerning. On the other hand, the Pelicans have shown improvement as they've gotten healthier, and 11 of their 17 wins this season have come at home, while the Grizzlies should still be favored to win. Laying this many points feels risky. As our first pick for this matchup, the New Orleans Pelicans to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Memphis heads into this game having split their last 10 contests. Over that stretch, they've averaged 120 points per game, which, while slightly below their full season average, still showcases their high-powered offense that's tough to contain. The Grizzlies lead the league in pace, averaging 103.9 possessions per game, and rank 6th in offensive efficiency. Meanwhile, the Pelicans had been on a streak of 4 straight games going over the total before falling short in the first leg of their home series against Houston. New Orleans has averaged 115 points per game over their last 10, which is more than 4 points better than their season average. They rank 12th in tempo with 99.4 possessions per game but sit just 25th in offensive efficiency. The Grizzlies are trending in the wrong direction as they prepare to face the Pelicans. While they snapped a 4-game losing streak with their win in Dallas, they've lost Jaren Jackson Jr. to an ankle injury that will sideline him for several weeks. Yalmorin's shoulder issue is another concern, and the team may choose to manage his minutes more carefully moving forward. Memphis ranks 29th in turnovers and is allowing over 16 fast break points per game, which is 21st in the league. I expect Trey Murphy, CJ McCollum, and Zion Williamson to have strong performances in this game. The Grizzlies' fast-paced style, which leads the league in pace, could create opportunities for both teams to score in bunches. 2 of the 3 meetings between these teams this season have gone over the total, and with the Grizzlies' ability to score in waves, this game has a good chance of surpassing the projected mark. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Utah Jazz versus Philadelphia 76ers. The Philadelphia 76ers are set to host the Utah Jazz in a matchup featuring 2 teams that don't appear to be overly focused on winning. The last time these teams faced off, the 76ers narrowly edged out the Jazz with a 114-111 victory in Utah on December 28th. While both teams are struggling this season, this game could still offer some interesting moments, even if the stakes aren't particularly high. The Jazz continue to deal with significant absences, as key players like John Collins, Lauri Markkanen, and Jordan Clarkson remain sidelined. On the other side, the 76ers are also missing several important pieces, including Joel Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey, among others. With so many injuries plaguing both rosters, it's tough to see this as a must-watch game for basketball fans. Neither team has shown much to get excited about lately, and it's hard to understand why the 76ers are being favored so heavily in this matchup. Given the number of injuries on both sides, the season stats don't carry much weight here. What's more telling is that neither team seems particularly motivated to win games at this point. That said, the Jazz have been slightly more competitive recently, covering the spread in 6 of their last 10 games. Meanwhile, the 76ers have struggled to cover, failing to do so in 8 of their last 10. This trend makes it even harder to back Philadelphia, especially with their current form. Since Joel Embiid was ruled out for the season, the 76ers have been in a tailspin. They were already losing games, but now it feels like the team has completely lost its competitive edge. Kelly Oubre and Lonnie Walker will need to step up as primary scorers with Paul George and Tyrese Maxey sidelined. George might play, but he's been a shadow of his former self lately. In his last game against Minnesota, he shot just 3 for 11 and has struggled to create offense or get to the free throw line. The 76ers have lost 11 of their last 12 games and failed to cover the spread in 11 of their last 13. It's been a rough stretch, to say the least. On paper, the 76ers should be favored. They're the better team and they're playing at home. The issue is that they've been a disappointment all season, with a 22-40 record against the spread. They've also lost 21 games at home, which makes it hard to trust them even in this spot. While the Jazz are clearly in tank mode with so many players sitting out, they're not being asked to cover a large spread. Additionally, Utah has been a solid bet this season, going 33-30 against the spread. In contrast, the 76ers have the worst cover percentage in the NBA at 35.4%. It's also worth noting that the underdog has covered the spread in the last 4 meetings between these two teams. With all the injuries and Philadelphia's recent struggles, there's no way I'd feel comfortable laying points with the 76ers, especially when they're relying on players like Quentin Grimes and Kelly Oubre to carry the load. The Jazz, despite their own issues, have shown a bit more fight lately, and I think they can keep this game competitive down to the wire. As our first pick for this matchup, the Utah Jazz to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Both teams teams have been strong bets for the over this season. Utah holds a 38-25 over-under record, while Philadelphia isn't far behind at 35-26-1. Given these trends, it's reasonable to expect both teams to score at least 112 points in this game. The 76ers have allowed 119 or more points in 4 straight games, and the Jazz have given up at least 112 points in 16 consecutive games. With defenses this porous, the over feels like a solid play. The Jazz and 76ers are in similar positions at this point in the season. Both teams are out of playoff contention and sitting near the bottom of their respective conferences. Tyrese Maxey and Paul George are questionable for this game, and George has been unreliable even when he does play. Utah, on the other hand, plays at a top 10 pace, and their young players have shown more effort than what we've seen from the 76ers lately. While the absence of key scorers might make the under seem tempting, I expect the players who don't usually get many shots to take advantage of the opportunity and pad their stats. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.